Hello and welcome to Who's On Next, the only podcast that will always scratch your back if you give it $50. Today I have with me a man who's had a career over the last few years. He's been in Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, Digimon Ghost Game, and was recently on an episode of Invincible. It is Talon Warburton.
Hello! Thank you for having me.
And thank you for coming on. I was shocked how quickly you got back. It was like not even like 45 minutes, I think, when I
Oh,
contacted you.
you got me at a good time. I'm normally very bad about that I'm working on that, responding to text messages and emails, but I'm like, oh, I'm here and present, and this sounded really cool, and I appreciate you asking. So I'm very happy to be here with you today.
Well, it's like I've said this before on the podcast, but like it's for the people listening. This is one of those shows where for every person that gets back, like 15 don't. Like this is kind of one of those kind of thing. It's well, when you're contacting so many people, because when I send out emails, it's like I send out like 10 at a time, like 5 to like 10 at a time. Maybe one person gets back within like a week. Maybe like one or two people.
It's a numbers game, baby. It's all a numbers game. Um, Same thing from an acting perspective as well, like auditions, numbers game. You just gotta get them out there. I imagine something more profound I was going to say, but yeah, I feel you. I feel you.
Oh, because it's well, it sucks when I like, oh, I'll send an email to this person, and then like the day later I'll like look at their account and they'll be like, I'm at a con right now, and I'm like, shit. They're probably not even gonna see that email by the time
And
they
it's
get back.
lost to the ether.
Oh no, it frustrates me when I see like they're at a con right after I send an email, and I'm like, yeah, that email probably got buried by the time they get back.
It's a risk with the job, man. It's a risk with the job.
So I guess to get this started, where did you get your start in acting and voiceover?
Well, I actually didn't know that I wanted to do acting for a while until shortly after college. Um, I was actually too afraid to do it for a long time. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I changed my degree a few times. I didn't think I was going to be good enough. I grew up in an acting family. My father is a fairly well-known actor, voice actor. I mean, I think I consider them one and the same. Um, but so about 10 years ago, I decided to start taking classes. I did some stuff with like Charlie Adler and a little bit of Bang Zoom. Uh, and I just built up experience that way. So it was about 10 years ago I decided to take the leap, and I also was doing on camera classes as well, which I still am doing to this day.
Okay, and was it you wanted to do voiceover first, or did you want to do on screen? Like, did you have like a preference for either one?
Well, I had an interesting kind of skewed perception of it because my pops is one of the few people out there that I'm realizing that does both with some degree of regularity. I thought that was kind of the norm. So I dove into both pools simultaneously. Um, I have found quite a bit more success so far in the realm of voice. I am still doing both. I'm still, auditioning, going out for that. But I feel I've been very blessed with my voice acting career, and things seem to be on the upswing. So I'm hopefully going to keep it in that direction. Um, but both. Answer your question.
Well, and that was actually something I did want to bring up because your father is Patrick Warburton, who's very he's a very prolific performer and has been for a long time. And I I guess what has there ever been like I guess a worry of nepotism or something like that by having a notable like parent in the acting industry?
Listen, here's the reality of that. Yes, it's just so listen. There are pros and cons. The brutal reality of the situation is with any line of work, who you know is incredibly helpful. And when your father is well known and well liked, that helps. With my dad in particular, it's kind of a double-edged sword, more positive than negative. He's got a very iconic voice. Which Me and Gabe can do pretty well, if you squint. That's it kind of peeks out sometimes. Without us intending to. It's funny, actually. My first big voice acting gig was in the breakdown. It said Patrick Warburton if he was a professional wrestler, and I'm like,
Really?
oh, I got this. Yeah, no, it was for Trico Slatteris in Guardians of the Galaxy, the animated series, and I actually was the main villain to Drax, who was voiced by David Sobolov, and who was one of my voice acting teachers and one of my dearest friends to this day. So that was a lot of fun. That I have a story about that one. If we have time, or we'll get back into that. But in the realm of nepotism, it's like, so my dad, his agency is my agency. That opened up that door because he was loved, but they did not start sending me out on stuff until I had taken a ton of classes. They're like, okay, we want to help you. We love your dad, but we can't, you gotta follow the path first, to their credit, So it's not like nepotism opens up the door, but it's up to you to walk in and stay there. You have to. So that's why I've made it a focus to always be taking classes, to keep that instrument sharp as best I can, and to adjust that material. It's like, to quote one of my acting teachers, this business is neither linear nor meritocracy. Everybody's path is different, and it's not fair. It's like there's so many auditions. Like of the auditions that I've done where my dad was in the breakdown as the character type, I've gotten like one or two of them, and I've done quite a few. So there's somebody out there that does a better my dad than me, So I got to track them down and deal with the problem a la Highlander, because there can only be one. So this is some bullshit. Whoever is out there getting my dad's breakdowns, it's my God-given, gene-given right. But that's not what you want to talk about. But it's like, I even on camera the past 10 years, I consider myself fortunate for the jobs that I've gotten, but I've gotten like 3 big co-star things, and I've gotten close on a couple other big auditions. I was shortlisted for a lead for a really cool show, but it just hasn't, bitten yet. And that's just how it is, and it can be hard keeping the spirits up. I'm very grateful for voice acting, that branch of acting. I don't know what I'd be doing right now if the world's become a very different place in the past 10 years. It's things are kind of interesting and tumultuous. We've had to deal with multiple strikes just in acting. COVID affected everybody. Now we're not going into the rooms anymore, but I guess I'm kind of going off track. It does help having my father be who he is, because he's talented, he's well liked, he's got a wonderful body of work, and I can slip into that zone and get the little voice crack here and there, just to sprinkle it in. I'm not trying to be a Timu version of my father. That's not the goal. I'd rather consider, my brother Gabriel, he's a voice actor too, and he's blowing up right now. I'd rather us be more like Skarsgårds, I'll say. There's numerous acting families. Well, that's to your point as well. There are many, many actors that have children that are also actors. And that's no guarantee that they're working. This industry is so saturated now. The competition is so fierce, and the numbers are so big. You still have to just a name. It can be helpful. It can make you stand out. But if you're not right for the part, I genuinely believe most of the time it's not going to go to you. One of my other voice acting teachers once told me, if you book 1 out of 100 auditions, that's good. That's a good ratio. And I'd say that's probably about where I'm at, so you have to kind of tune out the rejection element of your brain and say it's selection, not rejection, which they also told me. I am rambling, and I apologize.
No, rambling's totally fine for this podcast. I've had people.
Right on.
I've had people who've gone on for like 20-minute rambles just on one question. So
I could do that. I'm just trying to get it myself.
Oh well, back in the day.
I think I answered your question.
Oh yeah, you did. But like back in the day, I started doing technically not the same podcast, but I did a version of this podcast specifically for voice acting back in like right when I finished high school in like 2014. And I don't know how the fuck more than half of those episodes are under 20 minutes. I don't know
Ah,
how I did that. I genuinely don't. Some of those episodes are like 16 minutes. And I'm like, how the
I,
fuck did I do that? Like,
that is impossible. No, no,
yeah,
yeah,
like,
no. I got.
it's why I can't like go back to those now because I'm just like, I don't understand how I just got the most bare bones interview out of some of these people, like just for like 15 minutes. And sometimes after the interview was done, we'd talk for like an hour. And at that point, we should have just made the conversation after the interview, like with how long
It's
we
like,
talked.
why did I just keep it rolling?
Yeah. Well, it's like I forget who, but there was one person I remember I interviewed where I think we talked for like 2 hours after the podcast ended. And I was like I think back on that and I'm like, why the fuck didn't I just make that the interview? Like just a casual 2 hour conversation with this person.
Well, you know what? You know what? We're gonna after we end our conversation, we're just gonna keep talking. Just keep it rolling. Just keep it rolling.
This is gonna be the 7 hour podcast I dreamed of.
Yeah, people need it. It's gonna be the people will love it.
Oh well, it's funny
Yes.
because last episode is the longest episode to date. That hit 3 hours. That is
Oh
the
shit.
longest. But that's also Michael Kovac. He's a friend of mine, so like we know each other fairly well, so we can carry a long conversation with each
Ha.
other.
Well, I got a baby upstairs, so I have a hard out at a certain point when it's getting time to put him down for the evening. So I have a natural end to our conversation, but I gave us plenty of time to
I
worry
have an
about
out. You can't get me. You can't keep me longer than I need to be here.
it. Because a screaming human that is entirely in my care. Well, my wife's here too. But and there I go, rambling again.
Well, I was curious because I've interviewed people who've also had famous family members. Jim Meskimen, his mother was Marion Ross from that '70s show, like famous sitcom actor
Oh,
from like the
yeah.
'60s onward. And I remember I asked him about like, well, what was it like growing up in that family? Like, did you want to do this? And I guess what was it like growing up? Because I assume you're a '90s kid like I was.
Yes.
So
Big time.
so you would have been the right age when like Emperor's New Groove came out or things like that. What was it like growing up in that environment, I guess, as a kid?
Well, we went to a lot of movie premieres as kids, and like other ones too. Like that was kind of like a red carpet deal. And there were other ones too that weren't like as big. Like we saw like we went to the like um let's say I mean there was like sequels too. I mean there was an Emperor's New Groove sequel that was like straight to DVD. We
Right,
went to
Kronk's New
that.
Groove.
Kronk's New Groove. But it was fun. It definitely was unique. But we always enjoyed it. It was fun to get to have a car come pick us up and stuff like that, and go see the movie. It was. I mean, but other than that, gosh, I consider home life relatively normal. My dad is an extremely down to earth family guy. I kill me. So get ready for another hour and a half of those. I'm a new dad. I have to get in the dad jokes. But like, I did have a very unique experience because we had a lot of the stuff playing when we were growing up. He was like Buzz Lightyear of Star Command, the animated series, not the Tim Allen one. Watched that a lot, and Emperor's New Groove. So I guess because of constant exposure, we considered it fairly normal. A lot of our friends thought it was really cool. And he was always and continues to be super cool to everybody that he meets. I do remember, and Gabe's gonna kill me for saying this, like, because we most of the time we went to the movies as a family was for like premieres of things, whether he was in them or not, for a time. for a time. But Gabriel, when he was like 8, maybe a little bit younger, he's gonna say he was younger for that. The first time we went to a movie that wasn't a premiere, we go outside. He's like, "Where's the car?" Like, like you silver spoon little bastard. So if that might answer your question. My youth.
We're going to the premiere of
no.
Chicken Little. Where's our fucking car?
Where's our fucking car? Direct quote from Gabriel. But no, it was it was I think other than that was a pretty outlying factor, a fairly normal upbringing. Playing up. I think since we're both '90s kids, we're part of the last generation that really played outside on the street. Getting scratched up and shit, dodging cars, playing football, and we did a lot.
I was a fairly introverted, autistic little boy, but like I did go out like fairly often as a small child.
Yeah.
It's good.
I've grown up to become more introverted and autistic. All my freaking Warhammer stuff over there. I got like, I have tons of Magic the Gathering. Man, well, I'm a very introverted extrovert. But like,
same.
I would not. I have not. I don't know what the test is. I would not be shocked if I was slightly autistic. I mean, like, there's a giant fucking pine cone on top of my shoulder. I picked up because I thought it was cool. I'm just like, I hyperfixate. I don't know. There's definitely like a smattering. There's absolutely a scale there, and I am on it. I just don't know where.
I interviewed Candy Milo, and I talked to her about how, like, as a child, because she was like one of those people when I was a kid, because I had this Rain Man ass, like, beautiful mind autistic memorization of people's voices as a kid. Like, I would be like, that's Tom Kenny, that's Gray Delisle, that's Jim Cummings, that's Richard Horvitz, that's Billy West. Like, I would just memorize names, and I would memorize voices, and I would just say it was I called it my Rolodex in my brain of people. And she's like, yeah, I think I'm autistic, but I've never bothered to check.
Yeah.
Like,
no, it's I have the check engine light of autism constantly flashing in my peripheral. It's like you should probably. Yeah.
What's that joke I've heard where it was like, what is it like? What was it like? My parents never believed they were autistic. My grandfather, and it like cuts to like the grandfather just being like, "Don't touch my red toy car collection of my 60 red toy cars I have on the wall next to my red toy car mural." like that.
Yeah. Model trains, come on, man. If I didn't have Warhammer, this office would be filled with model trains. I still might do that if I had the space for it.
Well, I guess what was your first? Was Guardians your first voice acting gig, or was there another one before that?
The first voice acting gig was actually a game called Hyper Universe. Is it on 360? It was a while ago. It was like a side-scrolling MOBA.
Oh. Okay.
And it was interesting. It was unique. I played a character named Lewis, who is like the blonde-haired boxer character, red, white, and blue stripes, everything like the American stereotype. Like one of his alternate skins was like an American eagle. It's hilarious. It was a lot of fun. Like, fighting game. I mean, it doesn't exist anymore.
Was it like an Xbox Live? Was it like Xbox Live or something like that?
Kind of, yeah. There was another one I did called Spider Swords, which was kind of like a Contra style. It was made by the same studio that did Shantae, the genie one.
What's her name? Damn it, Way Forward.
Hey, Way Forward, yes, it was Way Forward, and that one was actually a lot of fun too. That was a pretty well received game. It was pretty cool. I played it. You could play as the guy or the girl, and I put the guy on that one. With like these spider dinosaurs, like these hybrid critters. It was
Was it like
wacky.
run and gun? Was it run and gun, or was it like overhead shooter?
Run and gun.
Okay.
Yeah. But those were like my first. That was like my real first foray into the realm of voice acting. And then after that, I got Guardians was a big one because when I walked into the room, this was pre-COVID. I think it was at Bang Zoom. So my voice acting teacher was there, and next to me was Eric Bauza, James Arnold Taylor, Fred Tatasciore, and I think Troy Baker was there too,
Oh my,
actually.
so that was a stacked ass room. My
Yeah, and
God.
I'm like, I walk in there and I'm like, one of these things is not like the other. One of these things is me. I better give it my all, baby. Here's your best wrestling Patrick Warburton, and um, I will say, if I to any, new voice actors out there listening, even when you have legends, they get notes too. And sometimes they get a lot of notes. Don't think that they get it the first time every time. They do not. It is a collaborative effort. Sometimes you're in a flow, sometimes you're not. And it was kind of that helped me feel better. I'm like, that it's a process with everybody, and it is a collaborative effort with the whole team to get the right fit for that character in that moment, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And was
I
it
guess.
like, did you audition for that like just as like a Marvel, like were you just like, oh shit, Marvel project, or was it just like, that could be a good thing to get?
Well, that was one that I got. Especially when starting out. There's the jobs you get by hustling and the stuff that you get from your auditions, about although they're not always necessarily mutually exclusive. That one I did get from my agent, and I did see it was Marvel, and it's when you see Marvel, you're like, oh shit, it's it's pretty nerve wracking to see like one of the big names come up. You get jobs. Sometimes you get auditions where you're like, man, this would change my life if I got it, and you get in your head about it, and that's something that is always there because it's like, I mean, I remember I got an audition. I auditioned for the part that David actually ultimately ended up getting on the Bumblebee Transformers movie, so I had a chance to
Oh
audition.
shit. So
You
so
know,
you auditioned for Blitzwing, the one that like attacks Bumblebee.
yeah, Blitzwing, super cool. But like, I mean, David is like King Transformers. I'm like, okay, I don't mind losing to David. Like that's his thing. But like, when I got that audition, I'm like, they use code names and stuff. Sometimes I'm like, I know exactly what the hell this is. They're not trying that hard. This is quite obviously Transformers. So, but yeah, it's pretty nerve wracking when those come across your desk, email, however you wish to phrase it. So I definitely freaked out, but I'm like, well, I know this character quite well, so just lean into that.
Okay, so when you auditioned for that character in Bumblebee, it was like one of those, because I know that like I don't know if they do this anymore, but I know for video games for a long time they would do like code names, or they wouldn't even like say what the character name was in the script, or they'd say
Oh,
like,
still,
oh
still.
okay.
Oh yeah,
I thought that was like
especially
one
for
of the
the big ones.
Okay, yeah, because I thought that was something that I thought they had revised that because of one of the strikes a couple years ago. I thought that was actually something they had revised since then.
Well, I'm not sure because I literally just got one of those. It was
Okay.
all code, so that's not breaking NDA. That could be literally anything. Okay, I'm good. I'm safe.
I always thought that was just a thing for video games. I didn't know they did that for movies too.
I guess they must. I guess they must. Maybe if it's voice, I don't know about on camera. I haven't gotten those auditions yet, that caliber of those. Although I imagine when you get to like, yeah, I've had code names for a lot of video games. A lot of video games. A lot of video
But
games.
I remember, I think it was like an interview Kari Walgren did, and she talked about someone asked a question about a character she did in Kid Icarus Uprising, and she was like, "Oh, I don't know what that character is." And she was like, "Oh, that was probably one of those games where they like just gave us code words or like code names. So like I have like no idea what you're talking
Ah,
about." I was like, "Oh, I feel
fair.
so." It's it's sad, especially if it's a character that like people really like, and she's like, "Oh, I don't remember recording that
Oh no.
character," because like,
I know some voice actors are, it's like I remember a story about, what was it, Ron Perlman, because he voiced the Lich in Adventure Time, and someone was asking, he's like, I don't remember, it's just a paycheck, and
Oh,
I love Ron Perlman. I've met Ron Perlman. He's a super cool dude, but it's also, I get it, like, yeah, when you have a character that I'm a big nerd, so for my characters that I have, like, I like to lean into it. I feel, it is a blessing to be able to do it. I'm not saying they don't feel that way too, but I like to lean into it. Maybe that's my check engine light autism. But I really I do try to learn as much as I can about my characters, and if somebody comes to me and wants to talk about it, I want to be able to talk to them about it too. Like Argenti in particular is somebody that, I could talk about Argenti for a while, and that was an interesting experience. So that was a recast. And there was a mixed reception to that one. But it's
well,
all good now.
well, it's interesting because I only learned about that today because I'm not a Genshin person or Honkai. I forget which one. Is it Genshin?
Honkai.
Okay, yeah, I'm
Honkai.
not like a honk. I'm not in that world, so like I don't really play that stuff. I only learned like that today when I was like doing research. Oh, I did not know that was a thing. I know they've recast several people in Genshin
Um,
before or
a
Honkai.
ton of people in both of them now. There was all sorts of stuff with that.
A lot of a
A
lot
lot
of
of,
stuff.
there was a lot of drama with those games. A lot of drama.
I've had people where I've asked them like, "Oh, you were this character in Star Wars, or you were this character in Transformers, you were this character in Batman," and a lot of the time they are fans, but I think it's more fascinating when it's somebody who's like, "I don't know a fucking thing about Star Wars," like. Because I've gotten a couple people like that before. I remember I interviewed Ben Diskin like years ago, and I
Oh, I
remember
know Ben. Yes, yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
I interviewed him years ago, like probably close to a decade at this point, and I remember he had done a character on Clone Wars, a few characters, and he was just like, I don't know shit about Star Wars, like at all. Oh, I
At
just
least
think
he's
it's more.
honest.
I just think it's more fascinating when I see somebody who's just like, yeah, I just kind of did it. I'm not really like a big fan of it. I just thought like, oh, that'd be kind of cool.
I mean, I'm not at that stage. It, I guess I'm just trying to process that. It's like you don't know. I mean, you audition for a lot. You don't know what you're going to book. You don't know what you're going to get offered. Sometimes you get offered stuff, but like, I mean, it's also like, I mean, I've never been a big, like, for example, if I have auditioned for like Star Trek stuff, but I'm not a big Trekkie. I appreciate what it is, but like I know next to nothing about
Oh
the
yeah,
lore
like Star Trek is
that.
something where I'm just like, I know about it. I've seen several of the movies. I've watched like some episodes of like Next
Yeah,
Generation and the original show, but I'm not like, oh yeah, I know. Like Star Trek to me is not Star Wars because I know so much more about Star Wars in comparison to Star Trek.
the
Like,
same, and I'm not a yeah, yeah, same.
well, and I was curious because you're in a Digimon Ghost Game,
I
and
am. Yeah.
I was curious, was Digimon a thing for you as a 90s kid, or was Digimon, were you more like Pokemon, or were you not really into either of those?
I was more Pokemon. I still really liked Digimon. I watched that more. I watched both of them. I watched both of them. But I definitely leaned far more into the Pokemon, and I played that, dang, all the way till the end of high school, and I got to a certain point where I'd logged so many hours into the game where I'm just like, I'm done. I'm done. No, I can't do this anymore. Like I got so many. I think it was the Alola region, Sun and Moon. I'm like,
Yeah, that'd be
it's just
Gen
not doing it.
7.
It's just not doing it for me anymore. Now that being said, I still, have a tremendous love and respect for the universe. It's just like to invest the time and the money and the playing. I know I have a lot of friends that like I just, I collect Magic cards, and I have spent way more money than I cared to mention on Magic cards. That's a recent development, but like Pokemon cards, that's not my thing. But we're going back to Digimon. Although I am going to have to get the Digimon cards of my Digimon because I got some cool ones there. I gotta track those down when they come out. That was a really cool job that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. Tremendous honor and privilege to be a part of, an IP like that. And everybody over there at that studio, Laura, who I got to work with, they were awesome. It's always a treat.
Were you, because I know you were multiple characters. Was it on several episodes, or was it just like 3 characters in one episode?
Oh, I'm the narrator for the show, like the guy that does the intro, and
Oh,
multiple
okay.
Digimon across different episodes. So I'm in tons of different episodes as different Digimon and some random civilians. But like I play some of the big bad I play like one of the big good Digimon and a couple of the big bad ones, and they're going to heavily modify my voice. I get killed a couple times. It's great. It's awesome.
No, because it's like I've always been like a big fan of both, but I've always said I think Digimon was the stronger. I always thought Digimon was a much stronger narrative in comparison to
It
Pokemon.
was. It was darker too. Like Digimon Ghost Game, like there's some horrific fates. Horrific.
I remember watching Tamers as a kid. Well, because the original series they had to edit. Like, they did keep death in the original show, but they had to edit some deaths out in the original show. But, like, I remember when Tamers came out, that was just, like, every villain's getting fucking killed in Tamers. Like, every villain dies, like...
Like, oh my god, they're not going to send him to jail? Nope, there's his head's chopped off. That's
I always remember the horrific ones were in like the original series when they would show deaths was like they'd like pixelate, they just like explode basically when they die or something like that. They look like in Tron, they like derez, they like turn into like cubes, like pixelate, and they just like explode. And I'm like
that's how I want to go. You know what I mean?
I want to be Troned. I want to be Troned. That's how I want to
be Tron. That's how I want my kids to remember that. Weird thing to say, but yeah.
A new form of cremation. It's called being Troned. You get turned into little cubes.
Thanks, AI. I guess there's something good coming out of this.
The one good thing about AI getting to derez
is really cool cremation technique. This is gonna be wild. I wish I was here to appreciate it, man. That you didn't think the conversation would take that turn, did you?
Wait, I don't know, because like it's one of those things where I like go. You look back on like a lot of shows from like my childhood, like Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon and Digimon and things like that, and it's so funny learning as an adult like how much they had to like edit down shows like that for children. Yu-Gi-Oh. Well, the
Shadow Realm.
The Shadow, which I was blown away to finding out that was not a real thing. Like with how much they committed to that in the American version.
Oh yeah.
Like, I was just thought it was insane. Like, no, that was a thing they completely made up, and I'm like, that was a hell of a consistent commitment to have made that up, because they had to edit so much shit because of that in the original show.
Man, I do not envy the people that had to do that.
Oh, I remember I interviewed Jonathan Todd Ross. He did voice work in the 4Kids dub of One Piece before Funimation got it. And I remember he told me like, oh yeah, well the interesting thing is that we would actually watch the episodes unedited when we would dub it. So we would actually see our characters get killed or things like that. So we were going into this just thinking our character was going to die most of the time. Like, and then they'd be like, and then we'd find out later. And sometimes we wouldn't find out at all until like years later when a fan would tell us like, oh yeah, so when your character got sent to the brig of the pirate ship, and we're like, wait, no, my character died. It was like, no. Like,
no, the brig. Sent off to the farm.
Sent to prison. Like, your character wasn't shot brutally in the head execution style. They were sent to prison. Well, and I guess one of the things I was curious about was because you did Guardians, and you've done a fair amount of anime too. And yes. I guess what was the process like having to go into doing dubbing comparative to like doing something in a room full of other people like Guardians?
It is absolutely a skill set, and I garnered a huge appreciation for it when I started doing it myself. Um, it's tricky, because since the animation is already done, you have to match the emotion and the timing. That's the timing is critical, and ideally, as best you can, matching those lip flaps. And they often have to rewrite lines on the fly, and the folks in the booth are amazing at that as well. It's hard. It is the hardest thing to do from a voice acting perspective, in my opinion, is anime dubbing or any sort of dubbing. And live action dubbing too. Boy, that's when it's already done and you have to deliver your own performance to match that. For stuff like Guardians and other stuff that I did where I was the first. I mean, they match it to you. You give your performance and then they match it to you. So you get it nice and easy with that.
Something I was curious about was because you were in Megamind versus the Doom Syndicate,
Oh,
and
yes.
I was kind of curious because that movie did kind of have a not great reputation when it came
Wow,
out.
you should get into politics, man. That's the most generous. I've heard somebody describe the reception of Megamind versus the Doom Syndicate.
Reminds me, I remember I talked to James Otto Taylor years ago, and we talked about Food Fight briefly,
Yeah,
which is like one of the worst
yeah.
movies ever made. And I just remember him. I asked him about it because I told him like, well, this movie had like such an online reputation of like just bad, just universally hated. And he was just like, yeah, well, from what I know, it's apparently a not very good movie. Is how I remember him
Yeah.
putting it.
Here's my thoughts on that one. On Megamind versus. Here's the problem.
I'm not even bringing it up to like criticize the voiceover or anything. I'm just saying like how is
No, I
it
was
to
terrible.
see?
No, just kidding. No. You can say it. We're friends here.
Oh, I
No,
haven't
but
seen it. I haven't seen the movie, so
actually,
I wouldn't know. But
actually, fun fact, because what we all do, I'd imagine, in this line of work, is we look up to see how people are feeling about things. Anytime you really do want to stay off social and Reddit and these forums, and because you are curious to see like what are people saying about, whether it's healthy or not. It's not to do that. It's not at all. My saving grace for Megamind versus the Doom Syndicate is, as a whole, a lot of people actually really liked my character and they thought I was really funny, which made me feel good. I'm not like tooting my own horn. I'm just saying like that was a softening blow for me. Like, well, at least they liked me, you know. So there was that, but it's like I think it gets an unfair. Oh yes, I'm biased. I do think it gets an unfair reputation. I think it is good for a younger audience. I do think it has some funny moments, genuinely. I think it's more like I think the people that wanted Megamind 2 wanted Kung Fu Panda 2. They wanted a big theatrical release. They wanted the same like budget, crew, cast, everything. But I think they waited too long. I hope I'm not getting in trouble by saying this. I think they waited too long to make it. I don't know the reason why I had no budget, but they didn't. A lot of the main cast didn't want to come back for it, or they couldn't afford, for what they were given. So they tuned it to something that I think was more youthful, more I guess quote unquote family, or not to say that the original Megamind wasn't family oriented, but I think this one is more for kids, not like the whole family, but for kids, but with stuff for parents. I mean, like any kid, like especially like old SpongeBob. There's always jokes with the parents thrown in, and I think for like theatrical releases for DreamWorks, Pixar, there's more stuff that is keyed towards the older crowd. But Megamind was one of those ones that grew more of a following as time progressed, and definitely built up memes that are still used to this
oh
day.
yeah, no, Megamind is I that's kind of one of those DreamWorks movies I think that gets better every time I watch it, like just for how consistently funny it is, I think.
Yeah, it was a masterpiece. I think that everybody who worked on Megamind 2 versus Doom put their heart and soul into it. I am proud to be a part of that project, but I think the higher ups didn't want to commit the same way that they did for the first one, because theatrically it didn't. I think they didn't make as much money as it was one of those ones that grew in popularity. Same thing with The Emperor's New Groove. It didn't do particularly well
Yeah,
theatrically.
I was shocked to learn that when I found that out. I had always just assumed Emperor's New Groove was a big hit, and I found out like it did fine at the box
Tre-
office, but yeah.
Treasure Planet,
Ugh.
Atlantis. We just watched Atlantis again. My wife had never seen it, and I wanted to show her. And man, so many people die in that movie.
That's such a good
Insane,
movie.
horrible deaths.
That's
Yes,
such a
but
such a good movie. Treasure Planet's my favorite Disney movie. So
it's a bang. It's a banger. That's the next one I want to show her because she hasn't seen it either. It's really fun for me to show her movies that she has never seen before. Like she had never seen Lord of the Rings, and I'm like, no fucking way. So that was a real treat for me. And when Gandalf, fell off the bridge of Khazad-dûm when he was pulled down by the lash of the
yeah.
Balrog, like, what? He dies? And I'm just like, yeah, I know. I was shocked too.
Well,
That,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
he, he does. He does.
no,
He
no, no,
kind of dies.
no, kind of. I wanted her to suffer. She had to go through it. I'm like, you're gonna no. I'm gonna watch you when he shows back up in the next movie. Have that like, wait a second. But Megamind, back to that. Tangents, baby.
Well, I mean, I haven't seen it, so I don't really know. I think it's just for me. It's. I think a lot of people just kind of view it the way that a lot of people view, like when we were kids, the Disney sequels, like the straight to video Disney
Yes,
sequel, where you had a really good movie like tied to it, and then you have this movie that's
it's
not
very
as
Aladdin King of Thieves. Yes, but
See, I think Aladdin King of Thieves is actually pretty okay. Return to Jafar is the one I think is pretty bad of the
all right.
three.
Well, you know what? Your homework assignment is to watch Megamind versus the Doom Syndicate. You tell me if it's King of Thieves or Return of Jafar. So, please.
For every King of Thieves, there is a Pocahontas too. For
There
every
is a
King of
Pocahontas.
Thieves.
We don't talk about Pocahontas 2. Shit, I think we might have been invited to the premiere of Pocahontas 2, and I think I repressed that memory, so thanks for bringing that back up to the surface.
Wait, I need to look up. Was your dad in that? Now I need to look that up.
No. We went to stuff too. Like he was just invited to things because he had a family and he's Disney royalty. I'm using heavy finger quotes right there, but he is, so. He was in Space Chimps, and that was hot garbage. But
I remember seeing that when I was like 11 and thinking like that was pretty okay, and then I would watch it for like 12, 13 years, and then I watched it with some friends, and I was like, that might be one of the biggest pieces of shit I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, hold on a second. Let me see how old I was when Space Chimps came.
That was 2008 or 9. It was like 2008 or 2009, I think.
All right, 2008. That's 2008. So 16 years, 18 years ago?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, no, that'd be 18,
Yeah, 18.
2008.
What the fuck, man? Hold on a second. So I was, what's 33 minus 18? That's
15.
15. I was 15. So I was fully aware of how much of a piece of shit that was when I was watching that. I was like, how much longer do I have to keep saying this is just bad.
Oh, it's like I've always said I don't think kids like put together that a movie can be bad until like when you're like 9 and you say something's bad. Like I remember when I was a kid, I was like, oh, there were movies I didn't like, and I watched them as an adult, and I was like, that was fucking great. I was stupid as a kid.
Well, man, there's a fine line. There's like something that's like so bad, like The Room, that you're like, this is enjoyable. But then there's just stuff that's like I think the only movie we ever walked out of as a family was Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Oh God, that came out on my fucking birthday. I saw it. That was my birthday movie. That was my 13th birthday movie. That was my 13th birthday party movie, and I remember thinking it was And then I watched it, and again, that was another movie where I watched it again, like years later, like 5 years ago. I watched it, and I'm dead serious. That might be one of the least funny movies I've ever seen. I did not laugh one time in that entire movie.
This is what I'm saying. I bet you didn't expect to bond over Paul or Mall Cop and how bad it is. Yeah, here we are.
Please tell me I get this image of your dad in my head, like, yeah, let's get out of the theater. Let's fucking leave. That's
That's pretty close. I was like, can we just go? Dad is like, yeah, let's go. Yeah.
Do you do that? I was like, do you do that? Like, do you and your brothers do that to your dad? Do you do the impression? Like, do you do the Warburton impression?
When the time calls for it. I remember so I started doing it because my dad has a friend who's a comedian and is an impressionist, but I'm like, I could do that better than him. I should be able to. So I practiced, while everyone was off frolicking, I was studying the blade, so to speak. Glad you got that. And then one time, I have a couple of dudes that are just, I'd say, my core best friends, and one of them, Patrick, if you're listening to this, fuck you, because we were all sitting at my family's house, and he's like, hey, Pat, your son Talon does a really good impression of you. And my dad's like, what? And I'm like, I look at him like, you're dead to me. You're literally dead to me. How could you do this to me? How could you do this to me? But after being forced into the deep end, pushed rather, I kept practicing it, and now it's definitely in the wheelhouse. What was the original question?
Oh, I just said, have you ever done the do you and your brothers ever fuck with your dad just doing the voice?
We do. We mess around and stuff, and we did that. I'm sure you maybe saw the TikTok, Instagram thing where we're like, there's a couple times we did it where it went viral. Like the first one was,
I did see I saw the one with that's a beautiful baby. I saw that one.
Yeah, that's a beautiful baby. That went shockingly viral. That was shit. We was just dicking around filming that, and so there was that one, and then there was then Disney, like a little less than a year later, wanted to do one where they had. Did you see the one we did for the Emperor's New Groove anniversary?
Yeah. Well, that was actually one of the things that inspired me to contact you. Was I saw that. I rediscovered that like a week ago, and I was like, I'm wondering if he's available. That was actually the thing that made me like seek you out.
Well, you know what? I'll take it. Let me just see, like, where are we at on Instagram for that one right now? Good Lord. 18.1 million views.
Holy shit.
1.6 million likes, which is crazy. If you scroll down on the Disney page, there really is nothing that comes close to that. Like, I've been looking like Moana release, 472,000 likes. Toy Story something, 425,000 likes, 16K, 135. Like there is nothing in the millions, like at all. And we have, 1.6 million likes on that. And that's not to, I'll tell you why I think that is. It's because a couple things. One, it's a beloved movie. It is a beloved movie, but it is a genuine love that our family has for each other and us having fun and kind of dicking around. I think we're so inundated with negativity and conflict and hate that seeing that in a genuine way that it calls back to, I think we all look fondly, like us 90s kids, that general, folks in that have lived through that. It was really, we had it pretty gosh darn good, and just like, there's something very, even though it's edited and it's, there's something very genuine about it because we do love each other. We like to dick around, just have fun with it. And I think that really resonated with people. So it was really special to be a part of something that made so many people smile, for a silly little, as a whole, social media is evil, I think, but there's definitely.
Oh no, I bailed on Twitter like a year ago, like a year and a half ago. I like bailed on Twitter because I was just like, it's just become like a shithole, just like a complete shithole.
It is. But to loop back to one of your earlier questions too, and then you're talking about doing the impression of my dad and nepotism and all that jazz. It's a fine line to use it, but not to be identified by it. You know what I'm saying? It's like I don't want to, it's and it even still that's how I'm described on a lot of articles and posts like that. It's Patrick Warburton's son. It's not Talon Warburton. It's Patrick Warburton's son. So it's tricky. It's tricky, to build a name for yourself. That's the big cost to this kind of nepotism is. And it can be kind of disheartening, because a lot of folks would kill to be in the position that I'm in, and I am grateful for it. But what do you have to do to escape that shadow, so to speak, and to really be known more for you than anything else?
Like
it's a weird situation to be in. I don't. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, because you're bringing this up, you brought up this. It reminded me of Maya Hawke from like Stranger Things, because like she within like a short period of time like blew the fuck up because she was like one of the best characters on Stranger Things when she came on, and she was in Inside Out too. I didn't even know she was Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman's daughter until like I think a year after that season of Stranger Things came out. Like I never saw anybody. They didn't say Ethan Hawke's daughter Maya Hawke. They would just say Maya Hawke. Like they wouldn't say that.
Well, not this end of the coin. So this side of the coin. But listen, I do not want to come across as ungrateful. And I hope I'm not. I'm just saying it's an interesting obstacle to conquer in this line of work. I'd rather have this problem than not. But it's an interesting one. I have to be because. Image, as gross as it sounds, it is a lot. Everything, how people perceive you, what you put out there. It's very important. But there's also things that are outside of your control. It's a weird line of work to navigate, which I like actually, because I like if I like things always being different. The uncertainty of it all, which would drive some folks crazy, I enjoy it. So,
well, it's like I think it's the other thing of because I was when you were bringing up that Instagram video, I think it's also because the Patrick Warburton voice is I've always said it kind of falls into that Jeff Goldblum, Christopher Walken, where like everybody the second you hear it, that's you think like, do Walken's kids do that to him? Do Jeff Goldblum's kids do that to him? Like that kind of like, do they do the impression of them to him? Like that kind of thing.
If they don't, it'd be a missed opportunity. That's all I have
it's like there's whenever people think of Patrick Warburton, one of the first things they think is, hey Peter. Like they just, hey Peter. Like they think of that. That's like whenever I do an impression of Warburton, that's like my go-to thing I do to get into is, hey Peter. Like
I'll say it. Pretty good. It's pretty good, man. I'm an authority on that. I like yours. Solid. So,
I was like, I don't want to like, I'm a voice actor myself. I don't like being the guy who's just like, hey, let me do my voices for this person because they're
oh my Christ. Yes. No, that's something. I've been to a few classes where it's just like there is a certain, we are both aware. There are certain people, I'd like to say they know who they are. They do not. They do not know who they are. But it's just like, it's like, I would love to have a fucking normal conversation with you. Can you please? Yes, you're very good. Yes, look at that range. That's crazy. Wow, yes.
Well, it's like I could imagine working with Charlie Adler. I feel like people would do that to him all the time. And I know from how many people I've heard talk about Charlie Adler, he doesn't take shit like that. When I hear people talk about Charlie
he
Adler.
does it, but when he talks, he goes kind of crazy, and he does it, but it works for him because he's just fucking insane, and I love Charlie. Like, it's not him trying to impress you. He just has a few screws loose in the best possible way. Like, he is so unhinged. I love Charlie. I love Charlie.
Like, he's like one of my favorite favorites. I love Charlie.
It's not a look at me. It's just like, I'm gonna say whatever the fuck crosses my mind with zero filter.
Oh no, I don't even mean that. I mean people doing voices to Charlie is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, no, I know what you're saying. Yeah. I think I said I took a few of his classes. He's great. That was some of my earlier classes, and he kicks your ass. He's
Oh, I remember DiMaggio. I remember John DiMaggio had like a great story about him where he would say like Charlie's the fastest director you'll ever fucking work with. Like,
Yeah.
'cause he will scare the shit out of you to get a line. Like,
Yeah. I'll just scare the shit out of you.
well, it's like it's the same thing where like when I interview people, I don't want to be I never like being the person who's just like, hey, do the voice. It's the same thing of why I don't do voices for people, because I'm like, I don't want to be that guy. That's cringy. I don't want to be the guy who's just like, hey, professional voice actor, I also do voices. Let me do my voices for you. No. I don't want to be that asshole who also is just like the Clancy Brown thing of like, do the voice, do it. Like, I hate when people do that. Like, because I know that they're probably used to it. And I've had people even tell me that they're used to it. But, like, if you're going to do the voice, I want you to do it organically. I don't want you to do the voice, like, for me. I've only done that, like, 2 or 3 times. And it was just, I think it was Terra Sands, because Bulbasaur is my favorite Pokemon, and I wanted her to do Bulbasaur. I And
like, I don't normally do this, but fuck it, I need to hear it.
No, I even said it to her. I was like, I don't normally do this, but I need to hear it. I need to hear Bulbasaur.
Please, just give me a sword, just a little one.
Oh, well, when I interviewed Jason Griffith, he was my Sonic. I grew up on his Sonic voice, and I didn't want to tell him do the Sonic voice. But when the interview was over, I was like, I don't normally do this, but I was a very big mid-2000s Sonic kid, and I am still kicking myself in the ass that I did not record this. I stopped recording right when the interview finished, and I didn't record this, and I'm still mad at myself that I didn't. And he was just like, hey, Michael, thanks for bringing me on your podcast. Hope you have a great day. I was like, and I never recorded it. He personalized a Sonic thing for me, and I didn't record it.
I'm not gonna lie, man. That's terrible. Wow. But at least it's gonna live with you.
It lives with me forever, but the guilt lives with me that I didn't record it. Like, the regret also lives with me.
That too.
I mean, have you met or worked with somebody where you were like, oh my god, like, in terms of like what they've done, like voiceover work, acting work?
Yeah, that Guardians of the Galaxy, like surrounded by basically the entirety of my childhood. Here's one. You know who directed me on Megamind versus the Doom Syndicate?
Well, I mean, if it wasn't Charlie, I'm trying to think.
Tom Kenny.
Oh shit. Okay, I didn't know Tom was doing. I knew Tom voice directed some of SpongeBob, but I didn't know he did other stuff.
I didn't either, and like it didn't register for me that it was Tom Kenny until like halfway through, and I'm like, it couldn't be. It couldn't be. Nope. That's him. That is definitely Tom Kenny. So
could you could you see him, or were you just hearing him?
I could see him, but I didn't know that he directed him. Like this is just a coincidence. Like it just was like shorting a fuse. Like this, no, it's not Tom. It's just good Tom, and And then when he started talking about because he actually because my dad got him to read for our elementary school when we were kids.
Oh my god.
Nepotism. I swear I had a normal childhood. SpongeBob didn't read for you? That's wild. I'm aware. I am aware. But he started talking about that. I'm like, yep, SpongeBob. Yeah, it's Ice King. Yeah.
He directed you as SpongeBob like the whole time?
No, that would have been awesome though.
Well, it was actually really funny. This was by pure coincidence. So when I shot you the email and you had gotten back to me, I did not realize you were on an episode of Invincible, like that had just come out at the time. And I shot you that email.
How fortuitous.
No, it was the funniest coincidence, because I was just like, oh, I'll shoot him an email. And I was like scrolling through like Twitter or something, and I was scrolling through your account, and I just saw Invincible being brought up, and I was like, oh, Invincible. Wait, fuck. He was on a new episode. Oh shit! Like it just was like the most insane timing, like the most absurdly crazy timing I could have had, like emailing somebody that they were just on like an episode of Invincible. Like,
It's cosmic, Michael. It's cosmic.
well, I guess what was that like having to do a show like that, especially because you're doing a younger version of an already established character?
It was fucking awesome. it was. It was. Oh no! It was. That was quite the experience. I will say. I did not audition for that. I was
Really?
offered that, which was crazy because, as the story goes from my agent, the casting folks. I think it was Meredith Lane. I think they were asking for demos of people that were within a certain vocal range, and they just listened to all those, and they were trying to find somebody that they felt could match the tone and cadence of a young J.K. Simmons, fit the vibe. And I guess they heard, and like Simon Rashkov, I think I'm saying his last name right. Like I guess they heard what they were looking for, thankfully, in my demo. And my agent said, like, I accepted on your behalf. I have a feeling that you probably wouldn't say no. I'm like, you are correct. I would not say no. We recorded this like over a year ago. But like for a show that I enjoy so much, and for a character like Omni-Man, um, who is such a fascinating character, that is, it's definitely a bucket list thing for me. It was a very special experience. Yeah, and like watching it come together, like when I got to go back in and do a little bit of ADR for it, for like the fight scenes and matching like the efforts to so there's ADR for that as well. Um, the ADR for getting the shit kicked out of me by my parents. That it is one of the most special jobs I've ever been fortunate enough to do, and the fact that he was so well received was really really cool to see how much people liked. Like I think it's like the fourth or fifth highest rated episode in the show's history, and a lot of people.
It's like one of the best openings. It's like one of the best openings of any episode, I think, in the show. Like that first like 10 minutes of that episode is like one of the best openings of any episode, I think.
Oh yeah, like within the day I was seeing edits of it on like TikTok, Instagram and stuff, and I just had a little smile on my face. I'm like, hell yeah. And just it's a lot of people actually thought I was what's the guy who does the voice of Jerry in Rick and Morty?
Chris Parnell.
Chris Parnell. I thought it was Chris Parnell. Which is very flattering because he is a very talented voice actor. But I guess we have some similar cadences.
That would have been a very different. Hello, I'm going to. Yeah, all the Viltrumites are dead. It would have been a very different Omni-Man performance.
Yeah. Young Nolan went through a very an interesting, I guess, a Chris Parnell phase. Yeah.
Well, and what did they? What was it? What I guess how was it having to try and because you weren't impersonating J.K. Simmons, not really, but like having to get like similar cadence to J.K. Simmons.
They gave me a lot of freedom for that, but there was kind of he's very deliberate with everything that he says, and I think when he was younger, he was a bit. I mean, he obviously was a bit more militant and rigid in his ways. Overthinking is one of the most, as you know, dangerous things you can do as an actor. Like I just kind of I took elements like I said, there's a certain coldness, seriousness to him, his Viltrumite side before he got softened on Earth. I wanted to bring myself to Omni-Man, if that made sense. To take the character that he made and to really try to like you never want to impersonate.
Right.
And that's the same thing with like Argenti too, because it was a recast and I did not want to impersonate. I wanted to honor, but bring my own.
Well, is Invincible a show? I assume is that a show where they don't have other people in the room, or like did you actually have like Grey Delisle or like one of the other actors from some of those scenes in that booth?
I would have freaking loved that, especially since I think Troy Baker was one that played my dad in that. That would have
Yeah,
been
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Um, eh, what was I gonna say? No, it's I mean, gone are those days. It's very rare. The last time I did that was for a Toyota commercial. That was like a year ago. That was it. To do in the booth VO stuff post COVID is quite the rarity if there's other people in the booth with you.
I think like of some of the people I've spoken to, it's more common for like much bigger voice actors to actually like if they're part of a big ensemble, like or like it's more common for them to actually go to the booth than it is for like one-off characters a lot of the time I've noticed.
Even still, for like, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't consider myself in that category, but like Iron Man and his awesome friends, is one of the larger projects I've done this past year. That was a lot of fun. Um, it's Marvel, it's Disney, and one of the main characters on that. And there's some other like, who was the other? I can bring it up. There's oh dang,
Or like I think like the most of that cast is kids, isn't it?
the kids are, but the villains aren't.
Okay.
Iron Man and his awesome friends. Tony Hale, he's
Okay.
Ultron, and Vanessa Bayer is Swarm. And they're all over the place too. But we were in the booth together once for one episode. Other than that, it was entirely solo. But yeah,
Okay.
mostly kids.
Well, because I always know, especially if it's a show that also predominantly has a lot of celebrities, even before COVID, I know that they would rarely have them all in the booth together a lot of the time when they would record.
Yeah, no, it's not the norm, which is a shame because it's a lot of fun.
Well, I guess to wrap this up, what advice would you want to give to? Because I ask this to everybody. What advice would you want to give to people who are interested in getting in your field?
I'm gonna to reiterate a point that I made earlier. This business is neither linear nor meritocracy. You cannot compare yourself to anyone else. The best thing you can do is well, there's a couple things. I mean, if you love this, if you're passionate about this, always be learning, always be watching new stuff, taking it in, practicing. Um, classes. Classes are your best friend because you build up a web of people. I'll say I'll preface this. It's okay to be hungry. It's never okay to be thirsty. It's like, you will always meet people like, what can I get from you? It should be the other way around. It's like, well, how can I help you? I have met many people that could have changed my life job wise, but my goal was to become friends. And if they can help me, great. And if not, no worry, I still want to be friends. Be you, be you. You're enough. And ultimately, if they're looking for somebody like you, they'll find you. I'm somebody who hates asking, but there is a right way and a wrong way to do it. But like, so I had an agency because of my father, but really I'd say more than half the work I've done recently has been from my own networking. Funny story. I was in an on-camera acting class, and you know who was in that class with me was Ryan Colt Levy, and he
Okay.
exploded. Like that was after I had done Marvel,
Was this
Guardians of
before
the Galaxy.
was this before Chainsaw Man? I assume.
This was before everything.
Okay.
And he's one of the best networkers I know. He was doing all the right things, emailing the casting studio, sending his demos, and just like he's very talented, obviously, but he's a wonderful networker, very genuine guy, very genuine guy. And he exploded past me, because like that's how his journey took place. Through him, I met one of my new best friends in the world, is Bill Butts, and he's always working. One of the biggest, strongest human beings you'll ever meet. One of the most talented voice actors, just genuine, warm, amazing people. Ryan said, "You should hang out with my buddy Bill. You should hang out with my buddy Bill. You guys like to work out. You like nerdy stuff. You guys would like each other." So I slid into Bill's DMs on Twitter. I'm like, "Hey, Ryan says you're cool. We should work out." And he's like, "My man, let's go." So I met him at the gym. We talked D&D, and he's like, "You should meet my buddy. He also paints miniatures and plays D&D." So he sent me his contact info, and we started just trading photos of miniatures. And he's like, "You should come play Twilight Imperium with us." And I'm like, hell yeah, thanks for the invite. So I played a board game that takes 2 days, and through there I met, some of my other now very dear friends. I met Brooke Chalmers. I met Chris Fiella. I met, I think, Phil Bach through them too. And through them, that's when I got, I became friends before I became business partners with them. Chris, that's how I got into Genshin. Phil is, who cast me as Argenti, and but I had to audition for all that, But like these gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen that are casting a lot of these games, they have their own rosters. I never would have met any of them, and I had been friends with them for a while before. I'm like, hey, could I request to be on your roster? Here's my demo. If I'm a good fit, great. If not, no sweat. Stuff like that. It's such a process. It's a journey, and don't be, don't be daunted. Is that the right word? It's a long one. You never know when it's going to strike for you, but you'll find your place if you keep moving. If you keep moving, you take classes, meet people, do workshops, practice, do comedy, do art, be an artist, be a human, and you'll find where you fit in this business. But yeah, definitely don't compare yourself to others. Easier said than done. Um, you'll keep going. You'll make it. Keep going. You'll make it. But there's so much to say. But I think I got the main key points there. I think I got the main key points there. I hope.